Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I will always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is Thursday, March the 1st, and we have a great show planned for you tonight. Sorry we couldn't come to you last week. I had an emergency in the Ohio area and other parts, I think Kentucky too. We had massive flooding. So it was just crazy. In my neighborhood, a few of us basement got flooded. So it was just a lot of drama with that. But I'm not complaining because in the grand scheme of things, my issue was very minor in compared to a lot of other folks, especially Cincinnati and Kentucky. They were hit really, really bad. So it was just a crazy week last week. So that was the reason why we had the switch at the last minute not to air. So this week we will do the show that we were scheduled to do last week, which is The Art of One, Loving and Caring for Self. This particular show, and I hope the brother joins us tonight, he called in before and he said something that really struck my heart when we were talking about, the false religion and the coming of the patriarch system and how the religious system was built on standing up the patriarch system. And so he was saying how he grew up in the church and how his particular household was ruled by the Bible, and how his dad ruled with a very abusive hand. And it was something about the vibration in that brother's voice that kind of touched me to the core. And this particular subject I have been thinking about for quite a while, the art of one loving and caring for self, because within the melanated community, a lot of us are suffering from trauma, and that's what the brother was talking about, being able to heal and get over trauma. So we're going to get into that tonight, and how the trauma impacts not only you as the individual, but it embeds in your DNA. It will be passed down from lineage to lineage, and it can cause you to repeat cycles on this plane of trauma. So we're going to get into a little bit of that tonight. So with that said, let me bring on my co-hosts. I see them in the queue. Let me bring on Brother Sean. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Peace and love, sis. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You didn't get impacted by all the drama with all these doggone floods.
No, but we catching it now.
I know. It was like, what, 60 when I left out the door this morning. So I was really busy, and then by the time I was on my way home, I was like, you got to be effing kidding me. What, it dropped like 30-something degrees, and it's supposed to be back to snowing, ice mixed tonight, so, your body goes crazy because, when you're in tune with the planet, you feel this shift in weather. So just been utterly crazy. So, well, good. I'm glad you won. Go ahead.
They're talking about 30 to 50 mile per hour sustained winds.
Yeah, we're feeling
power
them already.
Outages.
Yeah, we're feeling the winds already, and I'm like, oh, damn, but we'll talk about a little bit about that also, because I think it's a little bit deeper than, weather modification. I really, really do believe that the planet or Mama Earth is going through a shift. Because, this is just, this is pretty extreme. So, yeah, we'll get into a little bit of that tonight as well. Let me bring on Sis right quick. I see her. Peace and love, Sis. How are you?
Peace and love to you, too, Rhonda, and you, Brother Sean.
Peace, sis. Peace.
How you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. We're supposed to be getting a storm in here on the West Coast tonight.
Wow.
So ours is coming. We had one earlier this week. But
okay.
That song you played, all the stars are closer, all the stars are closer. Well, we're supposed to be going through that rift, the galactical rift of the Milky Way. So, and then the poles are shifting. And then Nibiru is in the house. So we got a lot on our plate.
Yeah, and sis, I just really do believe, I do believe sometimes they try to use the fuckery of the weather modification. But I think at this point, it's Mama Earth shifting. There's been there are a bunch of videos on YouTube, and I may have mentioned this before, and they talk about the Mandela effect, but this time it's folks watching the actual landmass, the continents, very, very closely, and they have literally moved.
Right.
The continents have moved. Yeah, and even like the moon, we've talked about that several times. I remember the crest, when it's a quarter of a moon, a half moon, and the moon that I always say looked like a clipped off fingernail. I forget the crescent moon. I remember that being on the other side. I don't remember it being on this side that it is now. So, and some people don't remember that. I know that's what I remember. So I truly believe that we're going through not only a shift in the poles, but I think we're jumping timelines. Now, we didn't get a chance to talk about it because I was out last week, but this damn Billy Graham shit with this passing. Now, correct me if I'm so wrong. That man died a minute ago. Or am I just losing my mind?
No, he did.
Okay, so I'm like, when they came across with the breaking news, I'm like, how the hell is this breaking news? That man been dead.
Return of the Mummy.
Huh?
Return of the Mummy.
I guess. I remember him passing. They did a little documentary on him, showed his funeral. So, yeah, we're definitely going through some shifting, and I know even in the particular skies, watch them closely, family, because you're going to see behind those fake-ass clouds or hologram lights that they have put up to block out the sky, you're going to see multiple planets very, very close by. Now, one of the planets are so big, I saw at one time, that I can verify for sure that you're going to see a stark contrast in the sky. So meaning you're going to look up behind that fake clouds that they have. And one side of the sky is going to be lighter. The other side is going to be darker. And if you concentrate, you're going to see the bottom half outline of this huge-ass planet.
Some people are showing that.
What you say, sis?
I said some people are showing that on their YouTube.
And that's the only reason I caught it, because this brother had showed it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to pay attention to that. And sure enough, the next week I saw exactly what he was talking about. So, I mean, we've talked on this show several times that these planets that are showing up in our solar system are all a part of us moving into a new age. And each planet, what we're calling planets anyway, are energy centers, okay? So you could equate that to your chakra system, because your particular chakra system, the one that we know today, are each aligned to the different planets. So, for example, your root chakra is aligned to Mars. So this is all a part of the concept of all of the DNA strands coming online, which would hint, or us becoming crystalline beings, which also would have to equate to the particular energy centers in the cosmos lining up or matching up to what you are becoming. And so that's that whole concept of as above, so below. So we do have a lot of things going on, and that is one of the reasons I feel that, folks may feel like things are getting worse, when actuality it's twofold. Sure, it's getting worse for some because of all of these energy centers that are in play, and folks can't handle them. But those that have worked through what they need to work through from a spiritual perspective and an emotional perspective, and hence we're going to get into that tonight about the art of loving yourself. Those that have done that necessary spiritual work, you are able to process that energy, that new energy centers, as your new energy centers come online, you are able to process it and make it towards your advantage. Okay, so we'll also tie in tonight's topic with that as well. Okay, so before we get into the main topic, the art of one loving and caring for self, I do have to go head on with the fuckery. Okay, so this is picking up from last week, and I know by now some of you have already heard folks go back and forth with this, but I have to bring it up because folks were really, really, really off the chain. So we need to talk about the whole Black Panther movie, which, by the way, I saw it twice, absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
That's not even the point of the go head on with the fuckery. We had folks literally on rants, and I'm not talking about people that had an opinion on whether or not they were going to see it, whether or not they were not going to see it. I don't have an issue with that. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, their own personal preference. I have no issue with that whatsoever. You had folks showing their natural melanated ass on both sides trying to tell people what the fuck to do. So, I've got to go. Here's what I have to say about that. The release of the Black Panther movie caused a stir once again in the fake-ass reversion church called the conscious community. You have some whose view is by going to see the movie, you're giving the white man your money that could be used by the community. The other side stated that the movie is bringing broad awareness and is having an impact on the consciousness. Both perspectives are entitled to expression and should have been respected. But of course, in the fuckery of the conscious community, where the RBGs, the Hoteppers, the fake spiritual folks love to debate and put their knowledge on display, literally started attacking others for their views. Here's the thing. There is no debate on how one chooses to live their lives. Although most talk a good game on building a nation and collective economics, the reality is each must master self first. All the physical things that the conscious community say they are focused on starts with self and in the mind or consciousness. No amount of pushing personal dogma on others will achieve what you so desire. As a matter of fact, it creates the opposite. Bottom line, once again, the conscious community has shown to be irrelevant and ineffective. No structure, no direction, no results. It is because those individuals continue to be driven by ego and cannot operate out of love, which is the higher realm. If you are mastering self, it matters not what others are doing. For mastering self will bring about the change you so desire. You be the change you want to see. The rest will catch up. Create the world you want to see. And so now the other raw side of me wants to say, and they know exactly who they are. One person in particular, I had to kick their monkey ass off my page. Mind your fucking business. And yes, I saw the movie twice, and we'll see it again. So that's my go head on with the fuckery. I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it, or sis and Brother Sean, you want to do your own. Go ahead on, sis. Yes.
I saw it once, and I'm so happy to have seen it. And for the conscious or unconscious, as they may be, they haven't bothered to tell the people the secrets. They haven't bothered to make people live better with whom they are as individuals. They haven't bothered to show love to their own people. They're so busy arguing with each other, they don't tell the secrets. And they know the secrets. So I would say to you, let them talk. You know, the other race of people are saying, the unmelanated people are saying, why they have to do that bogus this and that and the other. They ain't telling the truth either. I hear both sides of the coin. So, you know, since that movie is a revelation, so to speak, of facts or presumed facts, let me put it like that, then that breaks the bond of prison that our people have been in without understanding who they really are. So that's the way I looked at it. I said, ooh, they telling dropping a lot of little king drops here. They dropping a whole lot of secrets. So I thought it was great. I loved it. And there's people talk about some of our leaders who knows the secrets, and they didn't tell it. They have in some of these programs that you pay your money for to get your nationality, that you can't get your nationality because they don't know nothing.
Right, but you gonna pay that.
Pay that money.
$1,000. Right.
You're going to pay that money to find out those papers that you have is no good.
Right, and getting locked up behind the shit. Right.
And get locked up behind it, and if you go get the money that they have on your Social Security card number, you're going to get locked behind that, because all that stuff is copywritten. So they don't tell you nothing. They don't tell you how to live. They don't tell you how to pay your bill. But that movie showed you love. It showed you what love is in us as people, what we should be having for each other, especially Killmonger. His goal was to bring love to everybody, not just a few. So I enjoyed it. I was sorry when he died.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the character, the brother that played the character of T'Challa, just came out in an interview and said that his character, Black Panther, was actually the villain and not Killmonger. And it was interesting because as people were saying, you know, and I don't have a problem with the people that's saying, oh, you know, it's an economic issue. I totally heard what they were saying, although for me at the time, that was not my motive. I get what they were saying. The issue I had was with people talking that bullshit about what the movie supposedly meant. They didn't fucking see it. And then number two, they proved the movie's point. Yeah. Because the movie was about the melanated people, about the betrayal, about not being able to stick
live together. Yep.
They were proving the fucking point of the movie. And I sat back like, you all talk about group this, group that, nation this, nation that. This is why it can never get done and why people have to master self.
Right.
So I'll pause in case somebody else want to put something on it, and then, you know, you might have a fuckery story of your own. Okay, go ahead, Brother Sean.
My issue, so to speak, with it is people really not knowing the true history. I followed the comics, and for me, the timing with this is everything. There's episodes in the comics where Black Panther fought the KKK. So that's
what I heard.
Obviously was here in America.
Yeah.
It showed the divide. It showed the fall. But the whole energy perspective of it, the currency perspective of it that everybody missed, is that divine feminine energy is centered here.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, they got everybody to look to Africa.
Right. They did.
While you focused on Africa,
mm-hmm.
that energy shift is occurring here.
Yes.
But your whole focus is on Africa. You still going to feel some effects of it. That's what they're feeling.
Right.
When they're feeling proudness.
Yes.
Like you said,
yes.
He was the villain.
Yep.
If people needed something to feel proud about, what about when they let Morgan Freeman play God? They was telling us we was gods back in what was that, the 80s? Where was all the unity then? I mean, that should uplift you more than being a king, to know that you're a god.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole misdirection. They changed it a bit.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and I totally get that, but you know what I do like out of it, because even with them changing it, it took people like you. You were the one that first dropped the jewel that I know of in my circle that said Wakanda is over here. So that sparked me to do more research. It was other people that was dropping the jewel about the original comic book, the purist of the Black Panther comic strip, and they were talking about stuff occurring over here, fighting white supremacy, and also bowing down. Who was their god? That Wakanda nation's god was Set, a woman. Okay, so even though they feuded, to me, just the mere fact of it coming out on such a large platform, and for folks that knew the purest form of it, you all were able to get that across, and even that knowledge got out there in the ethers, and it will still be up to each individual to take it a step further. So for me, I thought that it was a good thing. Sure, they're never going to tell it purely like they're supposed to tell it, because that's not their job to uplift us. I've said that plenty of times. It's not Hollywood's job. It's not the quote white man's job to tell our story, to uplift us. But we are in the age of whatever they put before us, because we have the energy in our favor. If we are using it and tapping into it, we're going to get what we need out of it. So, yeah, even with that being said, them not totally telling it correctly and the focus, quote, being on Africa, I personally, just because of the gems that was dropped out there, was able to do more research. And then I started seeing it even outside my circle. Folks posting the different cities named after Wakanda. So, and it may just be a small portion of folks that's doing that. That's okay, because that's all that it takes. We don't have to have everyone on the same page awakened for change to happen. As a matter of fact, past experiences tell us different. That it's not going to be everybody on the same page. It's not going to be everybody waking up for everything to change. It's only going to be a select few. So, that's just my take on it. So I'll get off that subject in case somebody else, sis or Brother Sean, you wanted to put something on. You have a go ahead on with the fuckery story.
Well, I like to go on, but I like to do that one too. But anyway, I can't have both.
Yeah, you can. You can if you want want to, sis. I just didn't want to go on and cut into y'all's time.
Well,
you can absolutely.
I heard reviews about the fact there was too many Africans in it and all this kind of stuff. And I think they really missed the whole crux of what the movie was revealing to them, just like you said, because it was more truth from the screen, the movie screen, that we've heard from all of our leaders. So, they need to just look at what you have before you that tells you who you really are and what you're capable of doing and what this society has said you're not capable of doing. So, you got to weigh the fact that you're capable of way more than you know right now.
That's true.
So I loved it. I just loved the king dropping they was doing, and you have to look at Disney and whoever produced it and financed it, that they can't tell us everything, and it's not their responsibility, like you said. So, but I would like to talk about this Parkland shooting, and I brought it up last time that it was probably fake, and it's proving to be fake. And
of
so
course.
I would just, we just need to let them people do them.
Exactly.
Because I see that they're trying to take the guns. Well, they're not taking the guns from us because we don't have any. So, and what they're doing is taking it from their own, and their own the one that has to worry about what happens to them, because what's been laid on our shoulder for hundreds of years is going onto their shoulders. Like hands up, don't shoot, and they go shoot you anyway. So anyway, I just wanted to say that because they're trying to use another form of Hollywood, and it's Holly weird, who is doing these fake murders, these fake dramas. Not to say nobody got killed, because I don't know that, but I know it's fake. They said they saw on the video with the helicopter 4 people coming out in full dress metal, because they said that's with the helmets and all this kind of stuff, and 2 had their helmet off, and they were coming out the side door, and they had a bag that weapons, like guns can be carried in, and they put it in the white pickup truck and took off while it was still, and they said it looked like police officers. So I said, whoa. But and then the people who are the ones on the TV, they said, I did act, but I'm not but it's all FBI that was involved in their family. And so we, as people, let them do their drama because it's time for them to live like us. We get walk down the street and get shot. Oh, I was in fear of my life. So, I can't tell you I told you who I think is behind it, and they are. So from what I hear, so it's all drama. It's all drama, and I've spoken to a lot of our people. Oh, it's a shame. I said, listen, that ain't got nothing to do with you.
Sure, really doesn't.
Let them do their thing, because when it's all said and done, it's all about them changing places with where we were. And that's my efforty.
That's a good one, sis. And you bring up, you really brought up an interesting point about that all of these false flags.
Oh my God, all of them.
Yeah, they don't have anything to do with us. You're absolutely right, and I think that they are trying to prepare a certain population of society to get ready for a shift. That's number one.
Right.
Shift of power. Then the other aspect of it is the reality that they created is coming to light for them.
That's right. That's right.
So, in a case in point example, they are really, really scrambling, y'all, about this heroin situation, this opioids. Notice now, y'all remember when crack was crack, they didn't say lace cocaine, it was straight up crack. So now they don't want to come out and say straight up heroin. They want to pretty the shit up. The opioid epidemic. Oh, so it ain't heroin now. So anyhow, to just show you how the fuckery they do with the words. So
they put us in jail. They put us in jail and gave them treatment centers.
Right, and that's exactly what's going on. And is now you have different states, and Sean, you know, Ohio is one of them, where they're pushing for all of these bills and these treatments. And I saw on y'all, I can't remember the program. It may have been CBS Sunday Morning, where one particular governor, I forget what state, is trying to even go after the drug companies. So saying that these heroin addicts and meth addicts started because they got hooked on the prescription drugs, and because they couldn't afford them anymore or couldn't get the doctor to write prescriptions, that then they went to the heroin and the meth. Okay, so I'm saying all of that to say this is coming full circle. So meaning the reality that was created on another timeline, whether or not you want to say on another timeline, is now karma or payback. So the reality that they created is coming to light. So again, if that does not apply to you, so meaning if your energy was not involved in that, then why is it your concern? Why is it your concern about the false flags and the guns this and the guns that? You are supposed to be mastering self at this time, making sure you have your stuff in order. You're absolutely right, sis, that other stuff does not concern us. And even for the folk that go to church, that's real deep up in the church, if I remember correctly, and I'm no accurate Bible thumper, y'all, I ain't good at naming you the scriptures. I could just tell you of the scriptures. What happened to the whole concept of when Babylon is falling, you're supposed to be coming out of her?
Yeah. That get deep into, yeah.
If you stand in the square and all that, that doesn't apply to you. I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead.
And then we gotta understand this flu stuff too, where they killing people left and right, and they don't understand why these people are dying from the flu when they gave it to them. So people go to die if they go and do them. Take your flu shot. And see, and take your vaccine. We should not be I'm going to put my foot in it. We should not be participants in that kind of stuff. It's not for us. But that's my disclaimer. You can take my word if you want to, but we should participate in these kind of things. That stuff is not made to help us. The medicines they give is not made to help us as melanated people. So, there's a lot of people who know that they're doing these things to us, but we shouldn't participate in Babylon things. We shouldn't participate in their religions, their feasts, their festivals, none of that stuff. That ain't for us. We got to step away from them. And that's all. That's another rant.
Yeah, no, that was good, sis. And again, and if you choose to participate in that system, that's your choice too. That's your own individual path that you want to walk. But on the other hand, you really don't have shit to complain about either. So that's other piece of that coin. Okay, Brother Sean, if you have something, go ahead on with the fuckery.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get into the topic tonight, the art of one, loving and caring for self. So, okay, family, while I was preparing for this particular show, I so happened ran across a cartoon, and cartoons put a lot of truth in them. Now, I do have to give credit where credit is due. If you're looking for it in the movies, you may or may not find it. If it's superhero movies, you'll find it. If it's sci-fi, you'll find it. But you have to even use discernment with that. But cartoons, a lot of times they come out with it pretty raw. And, and it's because they can, because people are going to say it's just a cartoon. So as I was preparing for this show, there is a cartoon called Inside Out. So I was just flipping through the channels, and something just had me stick on this cartoon, because I'm not a huge cartoon fan. So as I got to watching it about 5 minutes into it, I automatically saw that this cartoon was about a child and her particular journey with her emotions and her chakras, her emotions/chakra system. And literally, and if you get the chance, check out this cartoon, because they had these cartoon characters in the back that was responsible for these little balls, which were different colors, quote, quote, chakra systems, different colors based on her emotions. So they were responsible for putting them in the right category. Okay? And it was so deep that every time she had significant emotions, the little ball was produced that was a different color, i.e. chakra, and this ball went to this huge permanent record system. Get it? Akashic records. So I'm sitting here looking at this like, wow, they can't be putting it out here this plain like this. So anyhow, the whole entire cartoon was about how this child was in a happy space. She was with a loving family, her mom and dad, and then in her little world, a traumatic event happened, which was simple for the most part, but in a child's mindset, it was a dramatic event, because they moved totally across country. And so her entire environment changed. She had to get new friends, all of that. So as all of that was going on, the particular workers that was responsible for managing her, quote, quote, emotions/chakra systems were also trying to balance her emotions. So you had one of the little characters that was responsible for managing her emotions was just a hot mess. That was the one that was always blue, would always look at the negative. Then you had one of the characters that was just angry, was ready to kick ass, throw a tantrum at every event. Then you had the one character that was kind of, calm. And then you had the main character that was really running everything. So right there, you kind of seen them playing on the chakra systems with the root chakra, the solar plex, and then the main manager was kind of the heart chakra. And so bottom line is, it really kind of brought to my attention how even as children, when we are brought back into this realm, how childhood trauma impacts our psyche, impacts our chakra system, and even can change the structure of your DNA, because they also hinted in this cartoon how if something so traumatically happened, it would impact the little girl's DNA structure. And they literally said that in the cartoon. So I'm sitting there like, wow, I can't believe they're putting all of this in the cartoon. So bottom line, at the end of the day, they were trying to balance out all of her emotions, and then the heart chakra lady and the I'm going to call her the root chakra, although they had her character Blue, kind of got imbalanced with each other because the heart chakra started to understand why the blue chakra character was needed, and all of the different chakras or emotional managers learn to work together. As that happened, the child started to come back online and be back in balance. So very, very interesting movie that they put it in a cartoon and showing you how, as children, and all of us were children once, a lot of us are parents, a lot of us are grandparents, how trauma, and they just used a simple example of a child moving across the country being traumatic to that child. But think of the childhood trauma that most of us have suffered, our ancestors have suffered, and even some of our loved ones have suffered, and how that impacts your overall emotional state, which impacts your chakra system, which impacts your spirit or soul. So I'll pause before we get any deeper, and we do have a call. Brother Sean or Sis, did you have something to put on it before I go to the caller?
You can go ahead, Sis.
Okay.
I want to say
sure,
that's why these psychological drugs are so effective, because no one goes back on their square, so to speak, go back into balance. And these psychological drugs, people play into their hands, and they want to get something outside of themselves to correct the trauma that they may be experiencing, instead of pulling in their own chakras and balancing themselves out with their own energy. So they run to these psychological drugs, and these doctors. And I was listening to one of these radio stations talk about how they got 300 DSMs, which is the diagnostic stuff, and how many people are on psychological drugs because they're out of balance, and they don't know how to pull themselves back in. And these drugs are not helping them; they're getting further out. Right. And this is why a lot of these false things are being able to be perpetrated against us, because people go for a drug, a needle, or some other way to find their chakra, and that's really destroying us. It really is, and people need to understand, when balance comes from your traumas, it's on you, not on the drug.
That's right. That's right. And I'm going to go to 832 because they've been holding, and then we'll come back to it, because it also ties back into the reason that a lot of these psychological drugs were also introduced to the children over the last 20-something years. So, but let me bring on 832, and then we'll come back to that, sis. 832, your line is open.
Rhonda?
Yes, peace and love.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And before I comment on the psychopharmacology that you brought up at this point, maybe when you listen on the playback, I don't know what it is about your line, Sean and Sandra, crystal clear, but you sound scratchy. I mean, it's almost irritating at some point. So I think you might want to, when you review the playback, especially the last, I don't know, almost an hour, the first 45 minutes, it sounds really horrible on your line.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. It could be this headset, but thank you for that, brother.
Yeah, it's almost like you're trying to scratch mix while you talk. It ain't the same as Tupain or
somebody,
or Zap, back in the day. You're not getting computer love, you're getting scratch mix. But anyway, on the Black Panther, I'm pretty much in line with observations of both Sean and Sandra. But I'd like to propose something that I saw in a recent YouTube. Its title was Black Panther Movie is Not a Black Movie. Now, they got it somewhat correct, but they're a portion of it. Like Sean is referencing a lot of the ancestral context of this fraud that was been perpetuated by two Jews, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. The people that are responding are saying that it's not so much anti-African American, which again is another false term, but it's pro-African when only the four main characters that were of American slave descent. That's what this video is using. They're using the context of claiming American slave descent, and the only true child of America is the slave, the descendant slave. I am very offended by that, but I have to explain that a little bit later. But you have Sterling, you have Chadwick from South Carolina. You have the elder, Forrest Whitaker. You have T'Challa, King T'Challa's mother, Angela Bassett, who, by the way, was the only African-American actress in the film. And you have Sterling K. Brown. So I use the analogies of the uncle, Sterling K. Brown, was killed by the first king, T'Chaka, his brother, blood brother. So that's African on African-American murder. Then you have Killmonger, ironically using that name, cousin, killed by the second king, T'Challa, African on African-American murder. Okay? Then you have the betrayal of Zuri, which was Forrest Whitaker as a young man, and him killing the elder, then whispering in his ear, James, I know what you did. I'm talking about Killmonger killing him in that scene before he went on to throw T'Challa off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right. And so, it's all inaccurate terms talking black on black crime, but you know what the context of what it means. There is no such thing, because they never say Asian on Asian, white on white, Hispanic on Hispanic.
Right.
It's always to signify, to further diminish, to denigrate us as a people for the agenda of white supremacy. So yes, you're correct that we need to, on one hand, not so much dismiss as more like distance ourselves, because it's almost like saying, well, how does Farrakhan used to make a very interesting statement about, it's that battered woman who can't get enough of that no good man. Now you already know you're being beat, abused, almost to the point of being killed, and you keep returning to it. What's the scripture about the dog returns to his vomit, or a hog in slop?
Right.
No matter how much you cleanse it, it returns to the filth. So our predicament is not, and Sean has said this before, that we're being taught by those we taught originally, which makes it a strange dichotomy. And I'm going to use that to transition to why there is, as Sandra pointed out, this pharmacology, this psychopharmacology that is being characterized as opioids, which used to be smack on the streets of late 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I couldn't think of
which
the
used to be. Oh, remember the song "The White Horse"?
Yes.
Okay, ride the white horse. And then of course, crack cocaine. The sentencing is 100 to 1, for God's sake. If you have an ounce of powder and an ounce of crack, you're going to jail 100 times longer. I mean, the third strike rule from Dollar Bill Clinton. The black folk going around hooping and hollering and how much they love and all this garbage. When he sent our children to jail on the three strike rule for possessing it, not distributing, not selling.
Right.
So, we have evidence compounded by evidence where these people are disturbed in their behavior and how they interact with us. They are shameful and embarrassed. And by the way, Sean, you were correct about the comic views, but here's two ways they deny. They didn't call them the Ku Klux Klan. They just called them the Klan. But hell, they were on the cover of the comic book in white sheets with a pointed hood.
Exactly.
Most African Americans don't know that came from the Moors in Spain. That actual headdress, that whole costume.
Yeah.
No, I'm just talking facts here now. For a moment.
Nope, you're right.
Then you have when they started with the comic, The Black Panther it was either a month before or within a month behind of the organizing of the Black Panther Party for self-defense in Oakland. They then denied there was any direct reference. Say what?
The Black Panther political party came afterwards, a couple months afterwards.
Yeah, it was in a time frame, 60 days, like you're saying, 1 or 2 months or whatnot. But once they came out and were in defense of their community under assault by white cops primarily, and when they went to the Capitol armed with long guns and rifles, as is their constitutional right, what did the NRA and Ronald Reagan do in response? They advocated the banishment. Okay? So,
exactly.
Say what, Sean?
I said exactly.
So when we see this evidentiary behavior of how they are going to continue to perpetuate that we are more criminal than they are, how do we respond to that?
Are you asking a question?
I mean, you're correct about self-analysis, my sister. But we're coming at this with an incorrect context. When I'm talking about that, we're in a sense we're talking to each other. We're preaching to the choir. So the unwashed masses, the ones who need to be having the sense that Sean is describing, are completely out of pocket. They're out of pocket. They don't have a clue, and they're not about to find one. But these people who are, in a sense, they are under dare I say MK Ultra? Sandra, you said what you said, but did you not hear the references to him? And this was made as a quick report only one time of claiming to hear voices. Did you hear a report on
I heard all that.
Stating that?
Yeah, I heard that. And did you know that his adopted folks is part of the FBI, and they had to move there, or the Hog Boy? It was either him or the Hog Boy that his parents just moved in there 4 months ago, and they part of the FBI.
Well, but they also, if you remember, there was a brief reference made the same about Dylan Ruth, and I'll draw one last parallel between the two. First of all, Nicholas Cruz pulled a security fire alarm, left with the crowd, shopped at Walmart, and then got a burger from McDonald's.
Right.
This young man, Dylan Ruth, fellowshiped, broke bread for over an hour with those 9 black congregants that he killed in that church. And it was the first place that the cops took him after picking him up to Burger King. Now, of course, describing it this way, I will be dismissed and marginalized as being a conspiracy theorist. So there are some things that are not coincidental. As a part of their debriefing and programming is the utilization of fast food, which is chemically induced. And when you start talking about psychopharmacology, can you draw a line at some point when you do your research, Rhonda, on when Ritalin and ADD and ADHD all of a sudden became the normal prescription or diagnosis for young boys having testosterone kicked in? And
I think it was in the 30s. Because I have a child that had that ADHD, and that's the drug of choice they started to give him.
Yep, they started pushing.
Yeah, they started pushing it. But see, that is the drug that also carries over to other drugs and heroin and all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, those DSMs, or the psychological diagnosis manuals, is like 300 thick of different diagnoses, and it's all subjective diagnosis is not always founded. And Ritalin, my son wouldn't take it, and I'm glad he didn't, because I said you need to know. I don't know. I didn't know much as I know now back then, but I didn't force it. I didn't force him to take it. He said it makes him feel weird. But there's a lot of people who's taking that, and a lot of these kids are on those kind of psychotropic drugs. And you can look back at the Colorado shooting, probably even Columbine, and all of this kind of stuff. That is MK Ultra mind control themes, and they all, some way or another, and I think we said this before, hooked up with the military. Some way, or FBI or something like that. And let's be truthful, we didn't have a heroin epidemic until they went to Afghanistan. When they went to the poppy store,
this second time around,
the second time around, that's when the heroin hit the streets. But I don't think it was supposed to be for us. I mean, for them. I think it was for us.
Exactly.
It was supposed to be for us and not for them.
Agreed.
And so it backfired.
But my sisters, the problem I have with people equating, it's like when Trump had the gall to say there are very fine people on both sides. I mean, when people are narcotizing themselves they're self-medicating from being oppressed, from being bombarded, from being abused. This is not an excuse. I'm not rationalizing. I'm not excusing. I'm talking about people in a condition that is first and foremost being denied by the society at large. So since, these same people who go, and as you said, Sandra, will be diagnosed, then are offered treatment, then are told to go and seek therapy, have a regimen, and then have sympathy and empathy extended to them. Okay? Now let's describe it as an opioid circumstance, not a heroin addict. So therefore, you don't use the term junkie, now do you?
No.
But if you are impoverished, black, Hispanic, or so-called minority, which by definition is a political term to diminish one, because a minor is a ward of the state.
Right.
Enjoy your meal. And then, of course, a ward cannot fend for themselves, are not competent to conduct their own business, and then therefore are punished and penalized for being incompetent. I don't care what it. Now, Sean, I know he knows the same personal thing, brother to brother. When you are 80 years old in slave culture and referred to as a boy, when the term cowboy factually came from the Negro male or the African slave who was tending to the cows. Now today in Hollywood, it's John Wayne. It's Ronald Reagan, who actually became the governor of California and president of the United States. Followed by Caucasoid European conservative Republicans as the greatest president ever lived. Right? All these things are hyperbole, right?
Indeed.
But we are dealing with a position of not having power. Again, I'm not describing things to excuse them. I'm saying we're having a misdiagnosis first. We are then having the condition that we are in criminalized by the outlaw criminals that are already oppressing us. That's what makes this dichotomy so sinister, so despicable. And then we're to go to their judges and before their courts where they have no empathy. They have no place of why they're going to see, when they see any one of these, when they even see Nicholas Cruz as a so-called white Hispanic now, you notice they describe him as a white Hispanic. They see their son, their nephew, their neighbor's child. You ever remember the stand-up that Chris Rock did, and he was 15 years old in nightclubs, by the way, making this riff born a suspect? You ever heard that?
So
or Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah, who's now doing the Daily Show, the title of his book was Born a Crime, because that's exactly what his process of being a product of miscegenation in South Africa, it was literally a criminal act for him to be born. So when you have these kinds of things.
So, all right, brother.
What?
So I'm going to just jump in because I want to.
Well, I want to leave on one last point about why they use pharmacology, because all pharmacology is a product of plant life. Talk about irony. And they dismiss herbology. They criminalize cannabinoids and marijuana. They then tell people, this is used again reference to the elder, the shaman / witch doctor with the heart-shaped herb in Black Panther. They are marginalized and then mocked as ancient mysticism, old wives' tale. Fill in the blank, my sister, and I yield.
Okay. All right, brother. I'm going to leave you open because with all of what you said, no one is disputing that. My question is, what are you going to do about it for you? I don't want the answer to be collective. I'm saying for you.
Oh, you want me to respond to that now? Because I am doing that as part of participation with. I'm doing that as part of participation with you and with the group on the call. Not just that, but in the personal discussion individually with anyone I come across. Because, and I'm not perfect. Nobody is.
No, nobody is.
The pursuit of truth and knowledge is what compels me. I try my damnedest not to lie. Now, I know I do that daily just like every other human being. But the magnitude of the lies. Did you hear the nerve of Hope Hicks before she resigned saying she told little white lies for the president?
Right, but
what the hell does that mean?
Stick to the question, brother, because what I'm trying to direct you at, which I think that you are doing it for you. So the point I'm trying to make here, all that you mentioned, we already know all of that. So the point becomes, and it should become, in each individual journey, when you are impacted by these things, when you have trauma in your individual life, when you look back on trauma in your bloodline, what are you going to do about it individually? So that's why I asked that question, because I think
here's an example. Here's an example to answer it to you. Okay, because again, it's still for us to impact those who are not listening to the show, who are probably the 99% of our people that aren't woke. All right, when I was having to deal with, it wasn't necessarily personal trauma to me, but it was about leading up to a divorce, my first wife. And I even asked her this recently. I was advised to go and seek counsel and therapy. Now, I'm not saying I wasn't receptive to it. I'm talking about a process internal to the system. Now, do you know what this white male therapist had to say as his description of what I was supposedly suffering from? He described it as a super minority complex. Now, I'm still perplexed with that. I don't know. This is like 20, 25 years later on what that meant. But what he was trying to describe to me, again, as a white European male, having absolutely no bearing or perspective on my situation, that because I was in a predominantly female environment in multiple occasions, I won't go into the details of that, that caused a dilemma, a crisis. I guess you could say either whether a crisis of identity or a crisis of self-worth. I'm not sure exactly which. But here's the point. The point was he was trying to diagnose me to prescribe Zoloft, which I wasn't going to take anyway because I'm completely opposed to pharmacological solutions and specifically taking synthetic medication from people who, like I said, do not necessarily have my best interest at heart. Now, for average people of Negro, Black, African American descent, their automatic response will be doing as instructed because the doctor obviously is right.
Well, I got it, brother. I got it. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your input.
Thank you for the time, and y'all keep the good work up.
Okay, brother. Thank you so much. You too. Peace and love.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Peace and love.
Okay. All right, family. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead on, brother. Yes, sir.
The reason they call it an opioid epidemic is because it goes beyond heroin. It's also with these counterfeit pills they putting out with these doctors.
Oh, yeah.
You know, doing their little side business with the pills. So it's more than just heroin. So that's why they're trying to help, because it's crossing economic lines with them. It's not just the poor white trash. The poor white trash, that's all they present in the news. The rich people, they ain't gonna tell about their kids
being strung out.
Episodes with that stuff.
Yeah,
they got enough money to pay them off.
Yeah.
That's true. What you say, sis?
It's an economic thing, because I heard, let's see, is it Rockefeller? Rockefeller owns 50% of the pharmaceutical money, or companies or something. He's getting the profits from that. I think it was Rockefeller or Rothschild, somebody, but it's one of the elite. They own that stuff, you know, CVS and all that kind of stuff, and it's beneficial for them financially to get everybody hooked on that stuff. It's an easy takedown after that.
Well, it's interesting because, and I think we hit on this before, and Brother Sean is alluding to it, that the reason why it's an epidemic, because remember, it only becomes an epidemic when it crosses across
to them
color as well as economics. And to be honest, really more economic than color. Because they really don't give a shit about you until, you adding some quote show enough value. Okay. So I know here, for example, the folks that were on these different committees, like Brother Sean said, he just reminded me, these are folks that come from upper middle class neighborhoods, which are having to break-ins, and it's one particular outlet that they put here that's in a very good neighborhood. And I know of someone that got held up at the little gas station by a meth addict, a white on white crime. So the little cops came, and the cop told the lady, "You need to get out of here, and get out of here fast. We come up here at least 3 times a day where folks are being held up with their money, being held up via robbery." Okay? This is in the neighborhood where they put this not discount mall, what do you call it? Damn, I just named it. Outlet. With all of them high-end stores. So folks with, money, middle-class folks, upper middle-class folks, getting stuck up. It ain't, Ray, them, Man, them, doing this. Because Ray, Man, and them wouldn't even be allowed to roam around in these neighborhoods because they would be profiled. Okay, so that's how bad the quote epidemic is taking place. And again, I say that it's the reality that they so wanted to create with the group of people, the lower middle class, particularly the melanated people, the people of color, and which they had created that reality for a period of time. has now reversed. Okay? So that's why I say pay attention to what is going on. So this entire system of white supremacy, again, it may not seem like it, but if you pay attention and you are in tune, it is definitely falling and shifting because it has no choice. It cannot stand under certain vibratory positions. So that's why I keep putting to the family, what are you doing personally for self? Because I can't save the world. I can only master self. And with mastering self, my vibration or light will be a contributing factor. And I think as a melanated people, we've been caught in this cycle that we must save the world. Not even we. Somebody else got to save the world. That's where that whole Messiah complex come into play. Well, look at what we're up against. Well, we know that. We've been knowing that for how many other whatever centuries. But again, you cannot fight physical with physical. The power is in the spiritual. That's where your real power are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a God, how can you be conquered? How can you be suppressed under something if you are a God? Because it is psychological trauma that most of our people are still held under. That feel something is greater than them. A system of suppression. So I'm going to pause in case somebody want to put something on it, and then we're going to keep moving on. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
As far as with the medical community, doctors, they're witches. They're practicing witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
They're practicing spells.
Mm-hmm.
They prescribe you something, and they tell you all these symptoms. You internalize those symptoms, and you actually bring them about with your thoughts. That's why they have to explain it to you. And they keep repeating these things to you over and over again.
Yep.
Till you accept it. They're brainwashing you, telling you have to take this or this, that, or the other happen. They have that manual so that basically if you take a breath, they got a medical condition for it just because you breathe.
Right.
But that's if you listen to them.
Right.
They'll sit up and say normal things as far as with the ADHD. If your child won't sit down,
yep,
they're children. They're going to jump around. We did it as children. Everybody does it. Now, something is wrong when the child just sits there like a zombie. That's a problem.
Right, which is what that medicine was doing.
Exactly. They want everybody dumb and sedated.
Yes.
And everybody's going along with it.
Right, and
criminalize.
I'm sorry, brother, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yes.
They criminalize the natural stuff and fight so hard for Big Pharma because majority of them are on prescribed medications.
Mm-hmm.
They get to get their stuff, quote unquote, legally. Majority of that stuff don't go well with melanated people.
Exactly.
We really don't like taking pills anyway.
Right.
But them, they take pills and go to work. I mean, no smell on their clothes. Nothing. Unless you can spot the signs. You don't know how many pills these people been took before they dealing with you.
Right. That's true. That's absolutely true. They've been getting fucked up for years. you just don't know about it because you don't smell no alcohol or smell no herb. That's true. That's absolutely true.
Hey, didn't the word go and start with them? The people go postal at work because they had to been on something and kill up everybody at the job.
Yeah, and even with that, you know, that kind of goes to show you how that psychological shit backfire, because remember, and sis, I think you said that AD and ADD Ritalin stuff started in the 30s, I think you said.
Yeah, that's when they first started diagnosing the ADHD. I read up on it years, when my kid was younger, and that's when they started that so-called DSM and then they started calling them social deviants. You know, it's a social behavior thing, and they got to curtail that social behavior with drugs. You know. And somebody was pointing out the other day, because I was listening to how parents are making their kids take this stuff and they said that antsiness and that, you know, won't listen to directions and all that kind of stuff, it's just child behavior.
Right.
That's how children are. They don't want to sit down.
Right.
And so, but now
the school system, the way they teach, you know.
Yeah.
Especially young boys, they don't want to sit up there all goddamn day.
Boring as toast. Yeah, it is.
Exactly. So, you know, and just to kind of even expound on that, even with the idea of psychological drugs in general, and sis, you've already touched on this. It was, number one, it was experiment on the psyche.
Yeah.
It was experimenting on how they can alter and control your psyche or your emotions, and emotions means energy in motion. That's all that shit was or is. It is an experiment that they have been doing for a long time. It started, of course, coming out of the sciences, like the brother said, of the shamans who use the natural plants, okay? Because a shaman, which, by the way, traditionally are really women, but we're not going to go there, okay? But just to throw that out there, traditionally knows the chemical makeups of the plants. They are able to look at a plant, that plant communicates with them and tells them the property of the plant and what you can benefit from the plant, okay? These pharmaceutical companies to this day go to these villages that have the shamans, and that's how they even come up with the concept of these medicines. Now, the difference is they synthetically take or try to synthetically mimic the natural properties out of the plant. And that is what our bodies cannot process because it is out of sync with nature, because we are tied to nature. So this one book that I read, very, very powerful book. It talks all about the shamans and about drinking a certain potion to be able to see all of the plants, and the plants start talking to you, etc. It's called Cosmic Serpent. Not a long book, can't be no more than 200 pages. Okay, And in that particular book, it talked about how the pharmaceutical companies paid this one guy to go into this particular village with the shamans to find out what particular properties in this plant could benefit modern medicine. Now, what the shamans were using the plants for was really, really interesting, because they would kind of assist people with drinking this particular concoction that they would make up of the different plants. And it was depending on what people were dealing with from an emotional standpoint. The shaman would mix up this particular concoction from the plants, and the people would drink the concoction, and they would sit in nature and communicate with the plants and get the particular healing or answers that they needed. And when the people came back to, I say, quote, quote, this particular realm, because really they were going into different realms and communicating with these energy/plants, they would tell you that the plants would guide them through their Akashic records to open back up those doors to solve whatever problems or issues they were dealing with. And one particular lady, this wasn't in the book, this was a separate thing that I read. She was dealing with a lot of abuse and the loss of a child. Now, going into it, the shaman person had no idea about this. She was just saying that she was very depressed and suicidal. So just her taking this concoction, sitting in nature, she literally walked back through time and saw that trauma before her, saw the loss of her child, and that actual child coming to her in that particular realm, comforting her, letting her know, Mom, it's okay. I'm doing fine. You can let this go.
That sounds like the Black Panther, huh?
Exactly. Damn, sis, shit. Yes. Yes.
That's exactly what they did with
who mixed up that potion? Was it not the women?
The women did it from a plant. It's from a plant.
Yep.
They went into the earth. My daughter pointed that out. Went into the earth, and they pretty much died to themselves.
Yep.
And they went into the ancestral realm.
That's right.
And found the answers.
That is absolutely correct.
Just like it.
Absolutely. It describes that in that movie to a T. Okay, so that is the representation of the shamans just assisting using Mama Earth's properties, i.e. the plants, to assist with healing.
Now, let's say why it doesn't work for them. It showed that in the movie, too. Why it doesn't work for the unmelanated folks. It's in that movie. They had to go to the machine to get well. They didn't go into the...
That was the CIA man you're referring to, right? Yeah.
They had to do the artificial stuff.
Yeah.
That's why that AI technology is so important to them. And that biometric, bionic stuff is important to them because they can't return to Mother Earth and draw that strength.
Right. And Brother Will Kapoor pointed out that substance because it was purple, right? The plant that the sisters pulled out of the earth and mashed up or whatever. It was a purple liquid, and he equated that, Brother Will equated that to melanin, which, that makes sense as well. So, back to the point of this whole medicine thing and the healing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It just goes to show you that everything that happens to you on this particular plane is being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And it impacts your energy centers. It impacts your DNA structure. And if it's impacting your DNA structure, if you are procreating and bringing life into this realm, hence, whatever trauma you are carrying with you, you are passing down to your children. And hence what they showed even in that Black Panther movie.
Yep.
Because the son had to correct what the father had done. And he had to go to that ancestral realm through his melanin, through the plants, with the assistance of the plants, to confront that. Okay? So this is what we're talking about when we talk about mastering of self, the art of one, loving and caring for self. Until you can get over your trauma, heal your trauma, go within to get to the root reason of your trauma and heal it, you'll always be stuck in whatever cycle that may be, whether that be a cycle of addiction from substances, whether that be a cycle of abuse, physical abuse, spiritual abuse, mental abuse, picking the wrong people, places, and things, never being able to master self to rise up to a higher vibration to make an impact. It starts with self. And these are the things as a melanated community we rarely want to talk about. It's always on the outside of what someone else is doing, what a system is doing, but not really dealing with the actual trauma that is going on and how to heal the trauma. And the only way to heal the trauma is to confront it with self. Think of the impact that we would have if every adult starts mastering self, the cycle of abuse and trauma that you would stop in your DNA and in your bloodline just by mastering yourself, being the God that you are. Nothing happens to you outside of the reality that has been created and that you continue to perpetuate. We see these things in our individual families, from sexual abuse being passed down from generation to a generation, physical abuse being passed down from generation to generation, poverty being passed down from generation to generation. Each individual, your quest is to master self. You stop this cycle with you. If you're mastering self, you've just broken a generational curse within your bloodline. So I'll pause in case somebody wants to put something on it. And if not, we'll move on.
I'm good, sis.
Okay. So the flip side of this, all of this stuff we kind of know, well, maybe some of us don't know. So I'm trying to wrestle with how much to go into, but I just kind of want to a little bit talk about from the medical perspective. And although we do have to look at the westernized medicine with the side-eye view and look at it with discernment, what I do want the family to get out of this is do not dismiss the trauma that each individual, even just start with self. If you have childhood trauma that you have dealt with, how it impacts your actual physical brain, which also, as we know, impacts your emotions / energy emotions / chakra system. Okay, and so this particular article, I'm not going to read it all, but it just was going in on saying how childhood trauma affects the brain. It is not news that people abused as children are more exposed to clinical depression, anxiety, and a higher risk of death from suicide. By now, researchers have begun to reveal what happens in the brain following this kind of trauma. Okay, so before I go into the article, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to jump around and get to the important meaty part. We were talking earlier about all of these pharmaceutical drugs that are introduced to the children. So hopefully we can see why these things are being done. It is to impact the emotions / energy in motion / chakra. By introducing these things early, these psychedelic, and I call them psychedelic drugs, earlier, they are able to suppress, and I say temporary suppress, your God particle. Now, that's just the fuckery of the medical field. The generational trauma that a lot of melanated people suffer from is the perpetuated reality that we keep repeating within our own bloodline. The cycle of abuse, the cycle of poverty, just within our own bloodline, that our children are subjected to, that we were subjected to. And hell, even at this point, some of the grandchildren are being subjected to, all because that God particle is not being utilized. Okay, so it says, according to data provided by the Children's Bureau of the United States Department of Health and Human Services, there were 3.8% increase in reported child abuse cases in the country between 2011 and 2015. This amounts to 683,000 cases of child abuse in 2015 alone in the U.S. Research suggests that this type of trauma in childhood leaves deep marks, giving rise to increased issues, including post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. Now, a team from the McGill Group of Suicide Studies at the Douglas Mental Health University Institute and McGill University in Montreal, Canada, aims to decipher how a history of abuse can impact key brain mechanism affecting mental health. Dr. Pierre-Eric Lutz and colleagues noted that in adults who went through severe abuse as children, the neural connections in the area of the brain associated with the regulations of emotion, attention, and various other cognitive processes are critically impaired. White matter affected after child abuse. Previous research has pointed out that individuals who experience neglect and abuse as children have decreased volumes of white matter in various areas of the brain. White matter consists in myelinated axons, which are the projection of nerve cells allowing electric impulses to travel around and carry information, while myelin is the isolated coating in which these tracks are sheathed. Myelin helps these electrical impulses to travel faster, allowing information to propagate effectively or efficiently. Okay, so just to stop right here real quick, they're spelling melanin differently. They're spelling it Myelinnated. We know what the hell they really mean.
That's myelin.
Yeah, I say melanin. So
yeah, myelin is the sheath that covers the nerve bundles.
Right. So even with that said, as you can see, trauma can block down to the nerve cells your natural communication skills. Okay? So again, blocking your God particle. Okay? And because as a child, and it would make sense because we say when children are brought back into this realm, they are at their purest form. So meaning they can still see into the higher dimensions in those other spiritual realms. Okay? But trauma or conditioning shuts down the child's ability to see those higher dimensions into those higher realms. So this is just telling you from a physical perspective why that is happening.
Yeah, the receptors, the dopamine and serotonin receptors and all that kind of receptors at the nerve ending are blocked because you put something else in there and you won't let it, and it builds it up and cuts off what you normally have. Like, say, for instance, when a child is not confident enough to tell you about the angels that they see or tell you about the God particle that's speaking to them, then they lose self-confidence and it changes their receptors.
Absolutely.
And so they can't see it anymore because they change it. I don't know what to use, which hormone or chemical that gets replaced in there. But, fear makes a chemical. Happiness, love makes a chemical.
Right.
So the chemicals that the body is producing changes your receptions and your nerves. So that's what they really are saying about all that. All that stuff changes when you don't put the right stuff in there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that just goes to prove the point that children that are conditioned to suppress or ignore that God particle, even that within itself, that's a form of child abuse.
Right.
Or just flat out trauma that children are experiencing shuts down that God particle. Okay. So the article just goes on to, it gets pretty detailed, and I'm not going to go through that, but it talks about the connectivity of the key brain areas are impacted, and then it also goes and then they have another related article talking about structural changes can also happen in the brain. So this particular article was out of Medical News Today, How Childhood Trauma Affects the Brain by Maria Kohut, and it was published on September 30th, 2017. Okay, where I want to go with this next is I want to, now that we kind of hopefully enter and understand the impact of trauma and any type of trauma, whether that be in our later adulthood, but most of it stems from childhood trauma and specifically been passed down through the bloodline, repeating the generational cycles of trauma, suppressing that child God particle at a young age. Okay, so hopefully we're and understanding that's how the fucked up situations that we quote continue to see continue to happen, because we are passing this trauma, passing these realities down from bloodline to bloodline. That's why our ancestors told us and gave us the nugget of wisdom to go within, to master self. Because by doing that, you chemically change your brain. You open up that pineal gland to activate your God particle. And by doing that, you are bringing back online your DNA structure to break the bloodline curse of trauma and abuse, and hence change the reality. That's why it is said, if you want to see the change, change begins in the mind. And it is scientifically proven, as well as what our ancestors told us from an spiritual perspective. So, I want to say to the melanated community, let's get real with each other. We want to talk about truth. God damn it, be truthful all the way. This is a time of self-reflection. And it cannot, if you say you want to bring forth a new reality, you want to break the cycle, you want to do XYZ for the overall betterment of your people, it starts with the mind. You cannot keep burying the pain, cannot keep burying the trauma, the abuse, whatever it was. You have to get to the root of that, going within. That's what that accessing those acoustic records means. So it's more than what people would think is bullshit. No, that's exactly what it is. Going within, addressing that trauma and that pain head on, staring it in the face to heal. You have those answers within you. But if you keep brushing them over, then it's always going to be external reasons. But in the meantime, you are not operating at your ultimate God self that you are. And what legacy are you leaving for yourself and for your family? We know plenty of people in our family, in the melanated community. We know that they're sick, they got issues, but that shit is just brushed under the rug. Oh, we're not going to talk about that. Well, I know such and so fucked up situation happened to me. I'm going to move on. No. Address it. Be the God that you are. Master self. That is the only way to create the reality that you say you want to see. Okay, so just some other things to look at. Definitely look at the impact of childhood trauma. You can research these things on your own. I've also been seeing a lot of things, and I learned about this particular term about 5-6 years ago. A lot of us know we dealing with, and look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about, some narcissistic personality motherfuckers within our particular bloodlines, with the mates that we choose. Look up that particular term. That's a form of mental illness. We also have people dealing with borderline personality disorders or flat out fucking personality disorder. Another form of mental illness or / out of balance energy / emotions / chakras, which hence creates trauma, which hence creates a messed up reality. Okay, so I'll pause before we get on. I did have some videos from some of our master teachers that kind of brought some things in hand. Specifically, Brother Bobby Hemmett had a quick video on why we need to overcome emotional pain and suffering trapped on a lower astral realm. So while I look for that video, if anybody has anything to put on it.
I would like to say something. I love that movie. The Black Panther, in going to the ancestral place, some of our people are saying it's ancestral worship. I heard that as a review. And those people are a little shallow, because unless you go to the roots of where it started,
right,
how you got where you are with your parents, your ancestors, you're never going to solve your problems. Just like that article said. You have to go to your ancestors. And most of them are gone. So, you're not supposed to talk to the dead, but you're supposed to find out where that problem in you was hatched. And it has something to do with your parents, and it has something to do with your childhood or your grandparents or your uncles or your aunts. But that's where it is, just like they say. So when they use that thing on the movie as going to the ancestors and giving praise to the ancestors, because that's the only way you're going to become straight, as long as you know what your DNA is made of. You got to know what DNA needs to be corrected. And when you pass it on to your kids, it's because your DNA is off.
Absolutely.
It's been impacted by the chemical changes, and you need to change that chemistry around before you start having children, and they're going to come with the same problem. So, anyway, I just want to say that because they did bring that up, reviews of the movie, that it was ancestral worship. I'm like, give me a break.
And why not worship your ancestors, goddammit, instead of
yeah, that's true. Give them thanks for who you are and that you got here. Yeah.
So that was some fuckery right there. You know, why not worship your ancestors? Because you are your ancestors are part of you.
Yeah, but they want to worship the imaginary Savior. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to really worship.
That's deflection. That's deflection.
Yeah, it is.
Because if you can worship a sky daddy, if you can worship some motherfucking galactics that's supposedly and allegedly coming to save your black ass, that excuses you from doing the root work for you.
Sis.
Yes.
But see, they could also be looking at looking at it on a broader aspect, like how our people are, excuse me, reaching back to Osiris and all these so-called ancient ancestors, which don't have anything directly to do with our DNA.
Great.
When we commune with our ancestors, it should be the ones that we personally knew when they were here.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for clarifying that. Absolutely.
That's your direct DNA link right there.
Absolutely.
As far as all that other stuff and what other lives you had, has nothing to do with the present moment. That's just the past. And
right.
As far as for those traumas that we need to correct, the correction in them is letting them go. We can't go back in the past and do nothing about nothing that happened. That's part of the trap that keep bringing us back here, because we think that we have to correct something. If we're gods and there's no right and wrong for real, and we created all this, what do we really have to atone for?
I get you on that.
I mean, when you go within your DNA, you see what was done wrong back then, but you apply that knowledge to now so that you don't repeat that mistake.
Right. And that could be, to me, that is correcting. Now, that's just my definition.
Right. By stopping, letting it go. Don't go down that path again. You let go of that mindset that led you to that, that led to that. You get rid of that mindset, you rise above that frequency.
Yes.
So that you don't repeat that.
Yes. Agreed. I think you clarified it a lot more than what I stated, because what I typically see, and, this is just based on my personal experience, and this even applies to myself personally in my life, if either, like you said, Brother Sean, either you're dwelling on something or you're ignoring something. In your soul, you have to correct that. And the only way, and I say correct that, you have to go within to address it, and then you're absolutely right to move on. You're absolutely right. But usually people are one or the other. They either just totally ignore it, but it's still not being dealt with because it still impacts their life, their emotions, their /psyche, which impacts their reality, or they keep dwelling on it. So if you're at either one of them ends of the spectrum, that means you have not gone within to deal with it, whatever way you need to deal with it. Now, that I cannot sit up here and tell you that. That's why it's master self. You have to make that determination. But at the end of the day, when you've healed from it, you are able to put that to rest, and you're able to move on. So absolutely correct, Brother Sean. Great point. Thank you for that, because that brings up both ends of the spectrum where most people are when they're dealing with trauma as adults. So let me go to 215. I think this is Sis. So hold on. I think this is Sis Lioness. So here we go. 215, your line is open. Greetings, Sis.
Greetings. Both of us are doing better, so that is great. I just have a couple of things. I wasn't going to speak at all today, but one, Rhonda, your voice sounds like you're yelling, and I can't, and some others tell me that sometimes we can't hear Sean's voice. He gets real low, but you get like you're yelling. So just as a point, maybe they're trying to change the frequencies there, okay? But we're going to overcome all of this, so it's okay. The main thing of this is you have to go back to the great laws of nature, the spiritual laws of everything, beyond the beginning and yet beyond what is now. So you always got to go beyond until all of this is set straight, which Mama's going to set it straight, because anyone who has unresolved childhood issues remain stuck where they were at the time that issue or those issues got to be to the extent, the expansiveness of what they got to. Now, that all stemmed from the two brothers, which was in the movie, too. We're going to have real fun discerning and deciphering that particular movie, not the comic book thing, because we're going to deal with reality as opposed to fantasy. But anyway, that's a little bit in the future. So when they threw Mama from the bus, that movie, they made that movie telling you with Danny DeVito that was what was going to happen. That's what happened. That's when all the problems of insecurity and things like that happened. The okie doke was when they threw Mama from the bus. The bus being the beauty of the United States, the beauty of Earth, the beauty of this particular realm that people came to for the beauty of the garden. That was those flowers in Obi-Wan Kenobi, Obama's portrait and the movie, okay? So there's so many things that we're going to go through. I just can't do it until after I do tomorrow night, okay? But it matters not. It's the law of cause and effect. So until you pull back that onion, which we've been saying for years and decades, and you must go inside, and it's the return of the feminine energy that will correct all of this. And yes, the individual has to do it, has to say it, has to step up to the plate on the baseball diamond, on the football field, on the 50-yard line, and all sorts of things like that. So it's all it is taking place right now. And I am glad that people are not getting stuck with the fallacies of the movie and just think the positiveness. Mama got this. Mama got this. And the feminine energy, the masculine energy is there to assist and has been assisted. And then we will walk together and back into the sunshine and back into that garden. And we'll go beyond all of that. So it's all there. It's all there. And as for the that document, the master plan, the mistress's plan, okay, the greater feminine energy of who people think is prime creator, okay, it's even beyond that. Then that story is going to be told, but these other little stories in between, which are humongous themselves and full of pus, yet we're going to think them as getting new, life-giving, life-sustaining, and life-repairing and rejuvenating blood lines to heal. And that's how we're going to get out of all of this. And we must laugh. And in the movie, you could laugh, you could stand up, you could hug, you can love yourself. Those children were well behaved seeing that movie, okay? So it's many layers and degrees and levels and all sorts of things. It was a story of love, albeit what happened must be fully told, and that is being done in all shapes and fashions. And you see the masks? How many times have I told you, just wait until the masks come off? Well, they're coming off now after the start of the movie and then the next one and before April Fool's Day, okay? So anyway, thank you. Continue to work. Go inside. That we've been saying it forever. Face those demons. Face that ego. go in the basement, slay the dragon, but you got 2 dragons. Everybody got 2 dragons. And then more demons, and then we're going to get to the demons, and then you're going to get to just hug and love yourself. So give y'all, each of you and all of us collectively and individually the hug so that you can go for it. Go for it. Go for her, go for you, and then just be you. And we can heal our babies, our adolescents, our people of our own ages, our elders, and everyone. And the others are being handled. So thank you. Keep going. And I miss you all, but we'll all be in contact very soon.
Miss you too, sis. Before you go on mute, can you just tell the family what time you are having the show tomorrow? I'll post the information on Facebook, but I wanted you to have this opportunity to let the family know as well.
It's at 9 p.m. Eastern, 9 to 11, but really there's no end. There's no limit, let me put it that way. It's a tribute to my great friend who was on my very first call, Brother Hamza Sid Catlett Bay, the greatest researcher I knew amongst all of us, but we were all in there together with Steve Coakley, and then Bobby came after us, and all sorts of things, and it's just warm and loving. He did the best on eschatology, and I just found out, so my heart is not as heavy as it could be, but it's light, but it's all in there. But guess what? It had to, because within that movie and the portraits, I told before, look at the foreheads, okay, and look at the back of the heads, and look at a lot of things. But the foreheads showed that he was a cat head. All of them were cat heads, and then others were not. So it's all about that, the cat heads, and the movie, the black pan, the R. R is Resh. Resh means king. King means head. Mao, cat. More, beyond the more of what people think is just about the priesthood. It was not just about the priesthood. It was about the priestesses. It was about everyone being God and goddesses, but about who is even greater than that. And that's in each and every person also. And it's about the portraits. So I'm going to break that down too. But thank you. It's all good. Watch out for this water, but water is the most vital force that is inside of you and outside of you. And Mama right now is breaking her water this weekend, March, the Ides of March. It's all love and caring, and it'll be birthed, okay? It'll be birthed in a beautiful, magnificent way. Hi, everybody.
Hi, you have a number you can throw out at us or what?
Oh, yeah, it's a new number, and even the people with the cell phones, you can come on there. I even broke down and used somebody's phone the other day, and it got through. It's crystal clear. If you have a problem, just call or leave me a number or say something to somebody who can get to me. There's another way for you to get in also, but I tested this, so it's 712-432-6301. And the code is 512517 and the pound sign.
517 pound. Okay.
Yeah, and even I'm going to break down how I made that invitation, because there's a whole lot of discerning and deciphering and things within there. So I was supposed to find out now, and I am to do this with all of us who were around him 30 years ago, and it's a greatness, because now the cat head has risen, has ascended, and all of us, the feminine energy returning. It's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
All right then, sis. Well, thanks so much, sis Lioness. And family, I'll post the information for the call tomorrow on the Facebook. tonight, actually, by tomorrow morning on Truth Uncompromised Facebook page. So thanks, Sis Lioness. Love you much. Thanks for calling in and putting something on it.
Yeah, and all the things that people are going through right now, the cleansing, is because just the small example. What I just went through was going back to the physical and mental traumas that happen in discerning and deciphering this information all of these years for myself and for everyone, and for Hamza, for Bobby, for Steve, for all of us, that cadre that we had and have and will always be in order to write all of this, okay? So it had to go back to heal it because the doors opened, and if we had the, shit from here, we weren't going to go through the door.
Right.
Of going to where we came from to see all of that Akashic records and everything else, and to build the heaven that's going to be on this particular earth, but not the earth where those who are not letting go, as Sean said, go inside and deal with it, because it never happened in the first place. It was an illusion. However, we must correct the illusions to get to the greatness again, because each and every one of us is great, is a god, is a goddess, or beyond that, or greater than that. And we are a loving people, and love is the answer. It's the message, the messenger in your RNA and in your DNA. And it's the only thing that's helping, and that's where we're going. So, again, thanks.
Okay, thank you too, sis. Love you. Peace and love.
Love you all. Love you all.
Okay. Okay, family, that was Sis Lioness. I will post the information to her show tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So check the Truth Uncompromised Facebook page for those details. Okay, so speaking of, I want to play a quick clip from Brother Bobby Hemmett, and it's from one of my favorite YouTube channels. They really, Masterly Foolish, they do an awesome job of taking segments from master teachers and different powerful information and putting it out there. So this particular piece is from Brother Bobby Hemmett on why you need to overcome emotional pain and suffering trapped on lower astral realms. So here we go. It's only 6 minutes, family. Here we go.
Y'all all right? Okay. Let's go on. Now, is Brother Rashid here? Brother Rashid here? Okay. Well, I see. Yeah. Okay, anyway. This is the Kabbalistic version of the fallen daughter called the Shekinah. So the Shekinah, they say when Israel is in exile, which is you. Israel, Egypt, it's a metaphor for the same people. Not the Israelis. It's you. When Israel is in exile, they will take with them in exile the fallen daughter, the Shekinah. And they will remain in exile until the Shekinah rises. Well, the Shekinah here, we now know is Neptes, a Nephtet, whatever, is the Shekinah figure. She is the suffering goddess of the world earth mother that suffers as long as her children suffers. But when she rises, it's all over. This is the same suffering person I'm telling you about. Now, let me explain this to you. Well, I told you about Linda's mother, Carrie Ann, or Ann, that was suffering. She represents the suffering of thousands of black women. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. Y'all with me on this? Now, y'all got to check this out. You remember between Ginger and Linda, I had about 4 years. And I went hog wild. Had a ball. You know, I said, it's time for me to go through, just go through a whole bunch of ladies, but not have a whole, I didn't do the thing, so what I did was it was pretty safe. I told them, look, I'm not looking for an exclusive, but you can be one of my girlfriends. You got to be honest with this thing. So it was cool, and everybody got down with the programs. And so I amassed about 13 of them what I could deal with. Okay. So the key was, okay, when I'm with this sister, when I'm with this sister, you'll know about it, but you just chill until I'm free. So one time, I was with a sister, what happened was I hooked up with a sister who had some good cash. So the number one cash, she had a daycare center. Woo! Daycare, baby, daycare. I take my hat off. On Friday, she had thousands of dollars. And we went to Vegas, and we went to the Luxor Hotel, and went in there and did a ritual on Christmas Day. But I'm going to tell you what happened. We were some of the only black people who was in that Luxor Hotel, and you know all them white people bowed their head to us because for some reason they must have sensed some Isis and Osiris thing going on, because they rolled out the red carpet. Luxor, you know, is a hotel with the pyramid and all the stuff in Vegas. So we went to the Luxor Hotel and did a doggone ritual. Then we went to doggone Hollywood and got busy in Hollywood because we had cash. Daycare center. Old girl had cash. And I was like a little baby. Work and take care of me. I was like a little baby. Sucking in the pit. It was a whole ritual. I said, shit. Work and take care of me. So we went to Hollywood. We had a hotel on Sunset Boulevard. And one of the other sisters called. I said, now, you know the deal. Now, I'm in a ritual. This is not the place or the time. So she hung up the phone, grabbed a 9mm, put it in her mouth, and pulled the trigger. And the bullet got caught in the chamber. But see, C3 Manel already told her one time before, you can't kill yourself if you spirit. You got work to do. You can't do it. You see what I'm saying? So she pulled a gun and shot the gun, and the bullet got caught in the chamber. The spirit stopped it. Let me check out what happened. So I said, well, what's up? What happened? She said, let me tell you what did happen. I didn't kill myself. She said, but immediately I went to a realm so low, and she said all it was thousands of black women crying and suffering, mainly with broken hearts and the stuff that you go through emotionally. There's a realm that these black women was on. Now, these black women are living in the physical world, but you have dual levels of existence. So then she said, I went to a realm, and she said it was thousands of black women crying and suffering with broken hearts and different things. So see, the realm is always related to the incident that you did, that you suffer from. So this is a realm that was related to all women who suffer through some aspect of unrequited love, broken hearts, or disappointment with men. And she said she went on that realm. She said, I got to get the hell up off of here. And she said she got out. So we talking. So this Shekinah thing here represents that realm. But you know what? They got realms that black men are on. That you go to those realms, it'll be black men that's in jail, black men that's suffering like from different things they suffer from, and they got these realms. That's why you gotta get out of this trauma thing of all this pain and suffering like that's vanguard. You gotta get above that now because you're the gods. You understand? So Shekinah, once she rises, we come out of this, and Shekinah is rising because now we know when Nephthys and Neptet came in June, that was Shekinah rising, because the original Shekinah that they talk about in the Kabbalistic text is Nephthys or Neptet. Y'all all right? Okay, let's go. But that lets you know we're dealing with some spirit. Sister put a 9mm in her mouth and pulled the trigger, and the spirits catch it. That's why, like they say, they shot up the mosque in Harlem, and the bullets got caught in the curtains. There's a spirit force. That's when Farrakhan say, if we go to war with you, we will win.
All right. All right, family. So that video, again, was from the YouTube channel Masterly Foolish on why you need to overcome emotional pain and suffering trapped on lower astral realms. So I think that pretty much speaks to what we were talking about earlier, how trauma impacts your emotions / impacting your chakra system, and how in order to rise to your highest potential as the God that you are, you have to overcome that trauma and emotional suffering. Okay, so if no one else has anything, we're going to move right along because I do have a couple other things that I wanted to share with you as well. Sis or Brother Sean, you have anything before I move on?
I'm good, sis.
Okay. All right, so the next video, although it's interesting because I wanted to play another one called On Distancing Yourself from Hostile Elements in the Community. And wouldn't you know, my video mysteriously still is processing. It hasn't been uploaded. Yeah, well, whatever.
Of course.
But I do have another one. This is The Troubled Mind of a Worrier and Negative Thinker. So this kind of goes back to what Brother Sean was saying about letting things go. Okay, because that's what worrying is, the opposite of letting things go. So this is once again coming off of Masterly Foolish, and I think this is Brother, I don't think this is Brother Bobby Hemmett. I think this is C. Freeman L. I forgot to write it down, so as I'm saying it, I should have been looking for the video. So bear with me here, family. Let me find the video.
You know, I like to have commented just a little bit. It's
short
like,
thing, sis.
Get out of that childhood trauma of not feeling love by your parents.
Yeah, that's a big one, too.
Yeah, you can kind of, when you meet somebody that's not the body for you, you won't hold on. You will hold on if you're still in that trauma from a child. Because as a child, you think if they don't love you, you can't live. And a lot of people meet people that's not meant for them, and they feel love that they're losing from them is the end of them, and it's not. What you're beginning is to go back and find out why love is so important for you is because you didn't get it when you were a child.
Right.
You felt you didn't get it as a child. And so when somebody walks out of your life, it's easier to let them go because that's not the love you needed anyway. But if you're still stuck back as a child where your parents didn't give you enough hugs and kisses and tell you I love you, then you're going to go and gravitate to the same type of stuff. And I just want to throw that out there.
Right. And that's, you know, a very good point because that goes back to what we were saying with the trauma in general, especially trauma that's suffered in childhood or adolescence, how that impacts the choices that are continue to be made throughout adulthood. And that's a perfect example of a child that didn't feel loved, so they make messed up decisions in their love relationships or even friendship relationships where they overcompensate to the point that they allow themselves to relive that story of not being loved as a child through the mates that they choose or the friends that they choose with still suffering that abuse. So that's essentially reliving that same childhood trauma over and over again. And I mean, you know, some of us may have experience, or we may know of people, and specifically women. I can't really speak on men, although I know it happens to men. I can only speak on things that I ran across, you know, where women continuously get in toxic relationships.
Right.
And it's the same, it's really the same energy, okay? Just a different person, skin suit, per se. But it's the same exact energy that they allow themselves to be subjected to. And that is because they have not dealt with a specific trauma that has happened to them. And to take it to the extreme measures, you know, most of prostitutes were molested or raped as young girls.
Exactly.
And psychologically, they're so traumatized that their worth, their self-value perpetuates itself to the very act that traumatized them as a young child. So that's just one example. So either they prostitute their body, they allow men to prostitute their body. Some women go to the point of they select toxic men to control their mind, okay, and that stems from sexual abuse as a child. And they pick the same type of energy over and over again, just a different skin suit. Okay.
Exactly.
And then some of the extreme are the women who turn to homosexuality. They don't even want to deal with men on a sexual basis as a mate because of that trauma that they have suffered either in childhood or adolescence. So yes, absolutely, sis, absolutely. But you know, we're entering understanding what it does on a physical level, but on that emotional, spiritual level, it's damaging who you are to the core because it is blocking you from reaching your highest potential, right, and reaching that God particle.
That's
so,
right. And that's
absolutely.
Bobby was trying to say, because he said that these women were on the physical plane, but their spirits were trapped because they didn't know what it was that didn't satisfy them when they were a child.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Go ahead on. You all go ahead because I'm still trying to find this video. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
From a spiritual aspect on that, as far as the with parent and child and the child not feeling loved, that could have been part of the contract. You know,
very true.
True. That's true.
You know, that may have been a hang-up in the previous life, where love of others prevented someone from loving themselves properly. You put too much love outside of yourself. So the people that are nearest and dearest to you come to teach you that lesson. That's who you would learn it best from.
That's deep. Yes, that's a very excellent point. That's a very excellent point.
Everybody comes in our lives to teach us a lesson. It's something that we're supposed to learn from. Everybody that comes into our life is part of correcting what went wrong in the past. It's just whether or not we make the proper decisions or have the proper mindset toward the circumstances to be able to see and remember. That's when we had those deja vu moments. I done been here before.
Yes.
And that's when you're supposed to go within and figure out what that means. And that'll help you make the right decision.
Oh, man. I got chills on that one. Yes, brother. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Wholeheartedly agree with that, especially when you went on that deja vu, because that is your soul talking to you, or your subconscious talking to the conscious mind to address that particular issue. So very, very good point, brother. Absolutely. And you're right. The same energy will keep showing up until you learn that lesson, or until you grab on to what you need to grab on to get to that root issue. So very, very good point. Very excellent point, brother.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so of course I can't find that doggone video either. So I'll find it for next week. So we're going to go into the positive side, which is you are the gods. What is your agenda? Stop worrying about them. So this is from my channel that I love, YouTube channel, Masterly Foolish, and this is Brother Bobby Hemmett. I should have looked for it before I announced it, but I think that one's here. So bear with me. I know I saw that one. Yep, okay, and this is another quickie, family. It's only 4 minutes.
Brother Bobby? Let me make sure Brother Bobby is still with us. Hold on.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now, Brother Bobby.
Okay, this is what's going on. The only thing that they're caught up in is this. For the mere fact that you are focusing on them, they have already won the war. You're supposed to be about your agenda and what you're getting into, and you worried about some damn people that are weak. They don't have no fucking technology but some old round airplanes. They don't have no UFO. They got some round airplanes. They've been abducting people and shitting people for the last 60-something years. They don't have no technology. We give them more power than they have, and the power that they have is you so busy looking for their agenda on what they're going to do, and you ain't, and that's why I have to come on and explain what our agenda is. You're not tapped in because they've given us an agenda of fear. Fuck dealing with them in that fear of what they're going to do, because you never know what they're going to do, but then again, on the other hand, you are the gods. What is your agenda? So what they do here is they take us out of our agenda by making you focus on fear, on what they're going to do next. Who gives a fuck? Whatever they do, they've already done it to us, and we didn't even know about it. The point I'm trying to make here is we have an agenda. The agenda that we're talking about tonight, that's our agenda. Damn them and what they're going to do. If you focus on that, just like they say, when I said it first, I say you create. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
I say you create the world around you. Well, that's what you do.
Right.
They give you all of this fear, and you create the world around you, because now you looking next for what the fuck they going to do. And they ain't going to do shit. They waiting on us. From now on, y'all need to get out all that conspiracy shit. They don't have no power. But the problem here is that you all are mistaking that for knowledge. What the government going to do? Fuck the government. This is what the gods are doing. We are gods now. The shit done shifted. We done gone to a whole nother level. We still worrying about them motherfuckers. You see what I'm saying? And that's when we give them the power, because we create their existence and their stability to still reign through our fears. You see what I'm saying? So that shouldn't even be that shouldn't even enter into our discussion no more about a fucking government and what the hell they gonna do. Like the guy that wrote the Voodoo Gnostic workbook say, they have their job and they got their work and we got ours. Now, you got to find out what our work is, and damn that old shit. I don't give a fuck what they do, because whatever they do, it can't stop this, because this world is going on. And we just talked about how this was an illusionary world, so who gives a damn? Even if they kill 1 million of us, they're not killing us. They're freeing us. So, but the point about it is we got to tap into the energy on what we are doing. And damn the fucking government. Don't ask me no more motherfucking questions about no fucking bullshit-ass government that's weak, that we create
based on our fears. We're talking, and I'm not talking to you personally, brother. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going off on you. What I'm trying to say here is at this particular time, we are rising. They don't have no power over us, only the power that we give them by creating their rule over us from the inside out. We create that shit. That's what we're talking about. We got to get rid of this illusion, this glamour. If anybody want to see what's going on, there's a book called, it's called The Revelation of St. John, The Path to the Soul Initiation. And in that book, it's called Revelation of St. John, Path to the Soul Initiation, by Zachary F. Lansdowne, Lansodwne, Lansodwne, Lansdowne, Zachary F. Lansdowne, The Revelation of St. John. And in there they go into the chapter of the Apocalypse dealing with glamour and Maya, illusion. Glamour. And that's what it is. So that's what we got to get past is our own idiosyncrasies to see the gods in us.
Yes,
so I'm not going off on you, brother. I'm just trying to say they don't have no power. And this and now we talking about the return of the gods. Damn what they gonna do. They can't do shit.
Right.
Only thing they could do was to give us a Barack Obama. You see what I'm saying? So we can focus on him not giving us nothing, because that ain't his job to give us nothing. His job was to heal the coming of the rise of the gods, and he did that on damn inauguration day. But the rest of this stuff here is, damn the government, they don't have no power. We're talking about a whole other realm here, and they don't even belong to it, don't even know what's going on, and can't do shit about it, you see.
Okay, family. So that was from Brother Bobby Hemmett on You Are the Gods. What is your agenda? Stop worrying about them. So, to me, that's self-explanatory. That's what we've been talking about for quite a bit on this show. So I'm going into the flip side of the art of one loving and caring for self. And part of that is, creating your own reality. And you do that by your thinking. So if you are constantly thinking about what somebody is supposedly and allegedly doing to you, you're giving power to that particular entity, thing, or system over you. So hence that creates your reality. So again, I say, if you are who you say you are, then what's the issue? You are supposed to overcome, but you can only do that by mastering self. So I'll pause in case somebody wants to put something on it. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
That's like all these so-called whistleblowers. They be doing all that stuff to us. And then these whistleblowers come out and say, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. Then people start getting sick. Wasn't nobody getting sick from it before.
Right.
But once they place it into your mind,
yes,
and you
create that reality. Yep.
Exactly.
You create that reality.
Bobby, he was on it.
Yeah, he was on it. And I felt him on that. He said, don't ask me no more motherfucking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Bobby is a mess, but he was right. It's if you a God, you put the actions accordingly. And this is Return of the Gods, not the rehashing of suppression and slavery. I thought that was a very powerful video. So our time is winding down. I do want to bring in this next clip. It's only 7 minutes long, and it's by Master Teacher C. Freeman L., and it's called Quit Talking About What I Ain't Got. And it's only 7 minutes long, so I'm going to play that so we can come back and chop it up with that and then go into our last word. So here we go. And this is off of Masterly Foolish Family. Here we go. YouTube channel.
We're all born at a certain time of day, a certain day of the week, a certain month of the year. Every human being down here is born in a circle of 12. Doesn't matter about the ethnocentric descendancy. Every cat, mouse, and ant was born at a certain time of hour, of minute, of day, of week, of month, of year. We're all registered by the universe in this clock of destiny. From that body of information, we're able to find self in terms of talents, abilities, and powers. To understand your behaviorism based on 30 degrees that you share with everyone else born in that month, on that day, in that week, and of that hour. This is the criteria of the changing, the revolution of human nature. According to the predictive astrologers, it's due in the school system by the year 2010. If you're having trouble with your children, your husband and your wife, what is it that you need, should know, do not know about her or him? Do you know who you're sleeping with 6, 7 days out of the week? Human nature is not that varied in its behavior. If it were so, we wouldn't enjoy the same cluster of music, the same cluster of games, the same cluster of social mores. Doesn't matter about ethnicity. We live on one planet. We have the blueprint of ALLAH, arm, leg, arm, head. We don't live on the earth. We live between heaven and earth in your mind. That's where you live. That's where you think. That's where you dream. That's where you calculate. That's where you make your mistakes. That's where you examine your feelings. That's where you receive your visions. And that's where you think about yourself and what you think about yourself and others. It's no more a great mystery once someone tells you, you are God. Then you know your purpose. Educo, educare. To draw out that which is within. Is to be about the business of becoming God. What I was supposed to do when I first got up here, at least I decided while I was sitting there filtering some of this stuff through my head here, was to ask, can anybody in here heal another human being of any ailment he or she might have? Raise your hand. Can you do that? Well, don't almost raise it up. See? There's no trick question about truth. Can anyone in here work a miracle? I see my brother's got his hand up out there, and he's verified that he's healed before. This is what you're supposed to be about. Why are human beings and human nature being bombarded with a rash of disease? So the healing power of human and divine nature will come out and express. That's why it's happening. And it's not going to stop until you start healing. It's no fancy statement. Physician, heal thyself. If you're reading that and the scripture is talking to you and you haven't been to med school, you got to figure out what kind of physician the scripture is talking to you about. The only thing you would have then would be what? Mind physician, meta physician. Heal thyself. Born with that power and that ability. Born with it. You can't buy it. And the whiteboard can't take it. Quit talking about what he's done to you, what he's doing to you. If you want to say fuck him, say fuck him. But quit giving him all your power. Quit giving him your mind. Quit giving him all this strength. He's done this and he's done that. He ain't done much of shit but copied the stuff that your ancestors laid out for him. Benjamin Banneker is proof of that. Take back your power. Quit talking about I ain't got and start claiming what you want. Quit buying into poverty and build. Claim it from the universe. That's how you got everything else you have. Use your mind. It is your power.
Okay, family. So that was off the YouTube channel Masterly Foolish, and that was Master Teacher Brother C. Freeman L. Quit talking about I ain't got and start claiming what you want. So with that said, we only have a couple minutes left. So I want to make sure I get last words from Brother Sean and Sis Sandra. So we'll start with Brother Sean. You have any last words for the family?
Love yourself. Love is the key. The key is love. But that all begins with self. In order to know how you're to interact with others, if at all. Loving yourself is knowing what your purpose is and fulfilling it. And I yield.
Indeed. Thank you, brother. Sis Sandra, you have any last words for the family?
You know, I'm just thinking how good it is to hear it again and again and again and again that you are what you think. And as long as you think you are, you are. And it's always good to surround yourself with people who encourage you to be who you are and better than what you are. And bring into your existence things that make you better and develop your God consciousness, your God self, and the love that you have inside that's untapped. You need to tap into it. So it's good to just hear those words from Brother Freeman L. And, remember, what a man thinks, so is he.
Indeed. Well, I want to thank you, family, for your support. I hope that everyone got a lot of value out of this show, The Art of One, Loving and Caring for Self. And healing yourself and mastering self. So we will be back next week. I think we're going to do a show on energy and motion, aka emotions. So we will see you back next week. And with that, I want to say love you very much.